This is Mohan's asked me to give a presentation on my uh, spiritual experiences from childhood through my time with when I went out to Switzerland to study meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So I'll start with my childhood, and the things I remember basically was um, what used to happen as a young child was that I'd look at things, and every now and again a pattern would form in the wallpaper or in the curtain material or something wherever there was an interesting pattern, and if I watched it enough it would develop into a face, and then the face would come out as a three-dimensional form into the room, and I had the ability to talk and communicate with these entities, as it were. And then as I move through life, I notice that I'm a very quiet person, and I think that is because my mother used to talk to me telepathically. We use very few words in the house, and but she knew everything that I was thinking, and I, to a certain extent, knew everything she was thinking as well. And in terms of my education, I'm afraid I didn't do that well at school. I was classed as dyslexic, and I didn't really learn to read until I was about 29, which meant I was quite late in life developing my reading skills. But again, it's not done me any harm. But at the same time, I mean, I was brought up in my father owned a petrol service station in Autumn near Ormskirk, and it had I don't know, about 5 acres of land with it. And for about the age of 10, I used to drive the cars around the forecourt of the garage, and we had someone one day left a scooter there, and there was a field at the back of the garage that we, after it had been there for 6 months or a year, as children, we decided to start this thing and used it around the field, as it were. So I was riding motorbikes as well, but probably around the age of 10 or 11. When I got to 16, I served my time in a factory in Aintree, in Liverpool, not far from Aintree Racecourse, and they sent me on a year's training at Speak Training Centre, where I learnt to operate all the various machineries. I was supposed to be being trained as a fitter turner, and I used lathes and milling machines and shapers and loads of different things. I did a lot of bench work where you made things out of sheet metal and things like that. And then I went to the plumbing section and also to the electrical section. Uh, and then towards the end of my training, I decided to go to Kirby College and do a business studies course there. So the funny thing was about the business studies course, I started in September, but three of the subjects I only started at Christmas, and added them to the subjects I was studying, and I had to study the subjects reading the textbooks, and actually I got distinctions in the three exams that I'd read the textbook myself, and the ones I was actually taught, I just got a normal grade, which I felt was quite interesting. Anyway, towards the time when it was coming up to the exams, I was having trouble sleeping, and I was reading the local newspaper, and an advert for Transcendental Meditation was popping out of the page. The course was in Southport, which was about 6 miles from where my parents lived. So I went along there and learnt meditation as a way of, helping me to sleep at night. And anyway, soon after that, I think it was after I'd finished my exams, the opportunity came up was to go up to the Lake District. I think it was somewhere on Lake Windermere. There was like a spiritual retreat centre, and the TM movement had put on a weekend course there, which I really enjoyed. And the teacher that was teaching the course said that he'd gone out to Switzerland on work study, and because I'd finished all my exams and hadn't really got anything planned for the summer, I used to go to Orton Lawn Tennis Club and play tennis every day, but that wasn't really doing me much good. So I applied to go on this work study to Switzerland. Anyway, almost the next day, I got a letter, well, a telegram back saying to go to Switzerland, and I went out and bought the train ticket to get there. And anyway, I was supposed to leave 2 days later. Anyway, on the day I was supposed to leave, another telegram turned up saying not to go to Switzerland but go to Vittel in France. And so I checked the timetables and things and saw I could use the same ticket to Strasbourg, which is what I did. And then I tried buying a ticket in Strasbourg to get to Vittel in France. And what happened was I not knowing about different currencies and things, I went to try and buy the ticket with pounds sterling. Anyway, they refused to accept my money and said I had to go to the bank first and change the money. And then I came back, queued again to buy the ticket, and only to find that when I had the ticket in my hand and got to the platform, the train was just pulling out of the station. So I had a 6 hour wait for the next train. But instead of that being a problem, it was actually one of my most interesting life experiences, was to sit in a cafe for 6 hours watching the people that were only talking French and German and different languages. I didn't understand anything of what they were saying, but what I was noticing was that I was getting so much information from their body language and gesticulation and tone of voice and everything else that they were doing, that I was noticing I could actually understand almost fully the conversation without understanding the words, which I thought was quite interesting. Anyway, when the time came, I got on the train and got to Vittel. And they actually put me in a hotel with 300 women, and I was supposed to be night watchman there. And there was a few odd things happening in that I didn't really understand the French bathroom system. In the room itself, there was only a hand basin and a bidet. And if I went to find the toilets, it just said toilets. And what I didn't realise is they were unisex toilets. And with 300 ladies in the building, I found it a bit embarrassing going to the toilet. But anyway, I survived that. And as I say, on the third day, when I was doing this job, there was some banging outside, and someone was throwing stones at the wooden shutters that I'd closed on my window. And I thought, being night watchman, I should probably do something about this. But there again, I decided not to open the shutters. And then after a while, someone actually called my name, and anyway, it gave me courage enough to open the shutters. And but what I was told was that I had to pack my bags immediately, because I was going to Switzerland by coach with a group of male course participants that were changing hotels. So that's what I did. And I think Mohan's got a photograph of the hotel that I arrived at, and he may show that in a minute or two. But I went to a hotel on Lake Lucerne called the Wetznauhof, and this is a photograph of it. As you can see, there's high mountains in the background. And I arrived at night looking out of the back of the hotel, but what I thought I was looking at was stars. And it turned out that what I was looking at was people's house lights that were shining on the hillside behind us. Anyway, over the next 3 month period, I actually changed hotels 21 times. They discovered that I could virtually repair anything because of my training in the garage and my engineering training and electrical training and plumbing training that I'd done. So they gave me a car and a toolkit initially, and I went for they were trained it. What the Maharishi did was hired hotels out of season. So in the summer season he would hire all the ski resorts, and in the winter he would hire the hotels on the lakes where no one wanted to stay, as it were. So anyway, I had the job of going around all the hotels repairing the damages that were caused, and I went to places like St. Moritz, Arosa, Bengen, around Lake Lucerne, as well as staying at in Vetsnau. I stayed at a place called Vegas, I think it was called. It was spelt with a W, but you pronounced it with a V, like Vegas. The Maharishi himself was staying in a hotel in Hertenstein, and the main centre was in. You caught the boat on the Lake of Lucerne to a place called Rigi, and then went up the mountain on a train to Salisbury, and the main hotels were called Hotel Coombe and Sonnenberg there, and that's where most of the activities took place. As I say, I was doing work study, which meant that I had to work initially for 3 months to do a 1 month course, which was called the Science of Creative Intelligence, and the main point of that course was really telling you that knowledge is structured in consciousness, and that everything in the universe is intelligent, but you can only know that your own intelligence when you do meditation and curve your awareness back on yourself in meditation and convert intelligence into intelligentness, which basically means you know that you've got certain gifts and certain faculties, and when you know you've got them, you can then start using them. So I found that quite interesting. I mean, during the time I was doing this, something unusual happened in this town called Vegas. The Maharishi was staying in one of the hotels there, and at the time I was doing cleaning work, and I was vacuuming the corridor outside the suite of rooms that he had, and two pundits came out of the room and asked to borrow my vacuum cleaner, which I let them have it, but I waited about 20 minutes and the vacuum cleaner wasn't being used, so I stuck my head through in the doorway and asked if I could have the vacuum cleaner, and the pundit said yes, come and get it. So when I walked when I walked into the room, I got zapped by energy that made me have dizzy spells for 3 days afterwards. I'm not sure what the Maharishi does in his room, but he can certainly build up the energies in the room. I heard on some courses you create something called a kavach, I think it's called, which is like an energy field that protects you from spiritual energies coming into the room and things. So it may have been something like that or not, but as I say, I had dizzy spells for some time after that, and anyway, I did this 3 month course, came back to the UK for a bit, and then went back out to Switzerland again, and when I went back the second time, they instead of doing repairs, they made me the sound engineer in Maharishi's lecture theatre. So I was playing like God, deciding who could speak and who couldn't speak, because unless I turned the microphone on, they couldn't say anything. And but the beauty of that position was that I got to listen to all the lectures the way Maharishi ran his courses was that he would invite the top scientists from around the world to give presentations, and these would all be videotaped and recorded, and that would then become the course material for his courses that he was doing. You know, he had about, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 thousand people in different hotels around Switzerland and France, and all on, all on courses, as well as his, that they had a university in Iowa called Maharishi International University at the time, and there was all these people on courses, etc. But what I noticed during this time was, because of everyone meditating together, the energies became very synchronistic. So,
George, would this be a good time to show this video that you selected?
okay, do you want to play that now?
Up to you. You tell me when you want me to play it.
Well, you can play it now. I'll leave the recording on while you're playing it, and then I'll.
Okay.
Life everywhere, tension and stress and strain are increasing in every country, whether it's a affluent society or a developing nation, but suffering is everywhere. It is possible for every man to go deep within and saturate his conscious mind with inner happiness, with that unlimited intelligence that dwells at the source of thought. The principle of transcendental meditation is simple. Being is bliss in its nature, is infinite happiness. Mind is always moving in the direction of greater happiness. It is the experience of everyone. Wherever the mind goes, it goes in the direction of greater happiness. And because the nature of inner being is bliss, infinite happiness, therefore, the mind during transcendental meditation takes that inward course in a most spontaneous manner. In this meditation, we do not concentrate or control the mind. We let the mind follow its natural instinct towards greater happiness, and it goes within and gains bliss consciousness in the being. Yes. The technique is, we take a specific thought which suits us, which is called the mantra, or a suitable sound for us, which we receive from the trained teacher of transcendental meditation. And these teachers are found everywhere in the world. I have trained them properly, and they give a suitable word, and the man experiences the thought of that sound and starts minimizing that thought to experience the finer state of that thought until the source of thought is fathomed and the conscious mind reaches the transcendental area of being. So from gross thought to the subtle state of thought, to the subtler, to the subtlest state of thought, this is the path of transcendental meditation till the mind, conscious mind, reaches the bliss consciousness or transcendental consciousness or pure consciousness or the state of being. Here in this state of being, the mind becomes soaked with energy, intelligence and great happiness. With it, it comes out and performs and experiences the world much better than before.
Right, so as I was saying, with so many people meditating together, what I noticed was that the energies were in the atmosphere around you became very powerful, and there was a lot of synchronicities that happened. For instance, there was one occasion where in the morning I decided I would like a form to fill out for the repair service. For all, I was servicing about 5 hotels around the 2 main hotels, and everyone came to the post box every morning to collect their mail. So I decided what would be nice is to have a rack of forms there and somewhere to put them. And anyway, later in the day, I was walking near the printing presses, and one of the the printers called me in saying he had a problem with the printing machine. Could I come in and fix it? So, and anyway, I looked at it and fixed it. And he says, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And I said, "Well, I was wanting to print a form, you know, to ask people to write down the request for repairs." And anyway, he made the form and printed it that day. And a few hours later, I was walking past the communications office, and the door opened, and they threw out a bag of rubbish, and on top of the bag of rubbish was three slots. It would take an A4 page, a rack that you could screw to the side of the mailboxes. So I picked them out of the rubbish and screwed them on the mailboxes. Anyway, the next day the forms were in place, and the whole system worked. But the point was, it was all done very synchronistically, and that's how the energies were. You know, they were very, very, very powerful and very strong. And anyway, I think I'll finish today's talk on that note. And I believe Mohan's wanted to have another session in a week or two. So, and anyway, is there any questions before I finish at all? Anything I said? I'll stop the recording now.